Alright, cool. Let us get started then. Take a look at what's going on. Let's come over to Forex Factory. Alright, we got new escalations, launching a wave of strikes against Iran. And we will pull that up. I do have some articles about that, but we have PPI today. So month over month is showing that PPI or inflation is starting to slow down. Same exact story as yesterday. But the main thing here is watching what's happening on the core side, excluding food and energy, which shows that it is still accelerating, just at a slower pace, but a bit of a faster pace than previous. A slower pace than the forecast, but faster than the previous. Let's come over, take a look at what's happening in the markets today. So we got a really nice push, it seems like, all across the board for all the indices. And then small caps is the one leading today. Let's take a look. Yesterday, CPI got a beat, but the core CPI month over month came in flat, 0%, which means that it was still at the same exact pace as the previous. Let's continue down. Got that relief because of that yesterday. Today, PPI came out, another cooler than expected print. Also, prior was revised down. Let's see, core PPI still came out higher, so that is still another indication versus CPI that came out just at 0%. Let's see what else. New strike wave launched this morning. And Trump also dropped the 20% Hormuz fee idea. Yesterday, banks' earnings came out amazing. Small caps are the ones that are outperforming today. So NASDAQ yesterday was giving us some good push, but we already talked about how that is already capped out at the moment, just given the options contracts that are sitting right at that 30,000 level and then also into the support area. So we're just sitting in this consolidation until we get TSMC's earnings today after market close, which the market will start pricing in tomorrow at the New York Stock Exchange open. All right, with NASDAQ, let's see. Overall, mixed to slightly bearish on NASDAQ in the near term, which aligns with the fact that we're tapping into our daily resistance areas, so getting a pullback. Perfectly in line with that. With gold, it seems like we are getting some bullish momentum. Also perfectly in line with the technical analysis here as prices bouncing off the weekly and the daily supports. Oil is heavily bullish at the moment too. And here's the retail versus the institutional activity. So today seems like the institutions are driving price entirely, which means that be very careful for fake outs, be very careful for those liquidity sweeps and grabs we've done a whole webinar on how to identify those. Those are the things that you want to be watching out for. As of right now, it seems like the retail is slightly buying NASDAQ, but selling the small cap, which again is a divergence given that the small cap is the one that is outperforming the market right now. So while that is happening, now let's come over to, so we got a good overview basically of what's happening in the markets at the moment. So now let's come over back to the technical side and take a look at what's going on here. And we have on the weekly time frame that, let's just call it, 29,900 area or 30,000. That's what we have. We've got our bottom wick rejection. We already know that price is consolidating here at the moment. So as we drop down to lower time frames, we know that we want to be looking for zone to zone trades. As we saw today's move on indices all across the board, it's just institutions moving that. So we don't have just a strong movement just yet, just even based off of the daily time frame. But we do know that whenever price does try to break past these areas, there is opportunity for impulsive entries. We don't have to necessarily wait for a break and retest, but be very careful for any massive just wick rejections, given that we have a lot of options contracts are sitting right here that are providing the ceiling right at 30,000, and then we have a lot of mechanical buying, institutional buying that's sitting right here with a lot of the put contracts that are sitting right into this daily support area, and we saw that yesterday too, right? All those numbers. Now we come down to the 4-hour time frame. We see a nice bounce off of 29,900 perfectly, and what I want to see is, can price continue to break below this 4-hour support and then continue pushing down? And then for our buy opportunities, what I want to do is narrow down onto the hourly time frame, and this is my resistance. So anything in between, I don't want to trade here in the middle. That is what, like almost a 70 to 100 point zone. That's perfectly fine, because once price breaks below this and we have cleaner sell opportunities, we can come back down for about just over 100, almost 200 points for sells. Or as price continues to push back up, then we have another 200 points to the upside above 29,700 to 29,900 area. So I'm going to set an alert right above the current hourly top wick. Nothing in the middle here. So even on the 15, we had a nice pullback at the stock exchange open. The next candle did try to push back down, but came back and closed weak bearish. Then the following candle at the new hourly candle open about 19 minutes ago created a nice top wick, but flipped right back down, closed bearish, but didn't even fill in the previous wick right here. And the current 15-minute, we still do have about 10 minutes to go. Created a top wick, but we're still kind of just hanging around in the zone. So that's why I'm saying that I want to stay out of the zone here. I want to wait for candle closures and then look for the continuation in either direction. Then here we are on US 30 on the weekly time frame. We have top wick rejection. So the reason why I am mapping out the top wick rejection as my resistance and not up top here is because the current weekly candle is also sitting at the top of its range, so barely a top wick rejection. So I want to give it this entire room to continue pushing, but as we drop down to lower time frames, we will create zones here just to see what's happening. And then the support is going to be the bottom wick rejection for this week, which is 52,000. Then we come over to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, I see a support formation, price trying to push back up bullish. So what I'm going to do is create a zone right here at the current daily high. If price can continue pushing past that, then I know that I have good buying opportunities, which is also a previous resistance here on the 4-hour time frame, and then also a support right down here too. Drop down to the 1-hour time frame, and it checks out that right into the zone. We've had consolidations before a nice pull back up and then a drop right here. And then same thing here, we had a nice rejection before price came all the way down and rejected into 52,000. So we have come back and revisited this area here now. And then we also have this support area. So if price breaks below that, then I know that I'm looking for a sell to pretty much mimic this movement to the downside that happened here. Or if price can continue pushing back up bullish, then I'm looking for buys as price clears out of this consolidation. Nothing in the middle here again, given that we've just rejected into this area and then either pulled back or continued back up. Now let's come over to gold. So with gold bouncing off of a strong weekly support, which is perfectly in line with what we were seeing here from Sidekick doing their analysis. That's 3993.6, 4,000 area basically that we are looking at. And then this week we have a top wick rejection. Candle has not flipped bullish here at all, but it does seem like we have a gap right when the market opened up this week. So on the daily time frame, price is consolidating here. So you could look for, still some scalp opportunities. Gold still gives you really good opportunities there. But if you're looking for a swing trade opportunity, then you can just wait for price to bounce out of this area. It is consolidating on the daily time frame, which means that there's always going to be a ton of volume for us to catch. We just got an alert hit on NASDAQ, but we'll give it a second here. Now coming over to the 4-hour time frame, let's say I'm just looking for a scalp. I'm going to create my zone right underneath the current 4-hour candle where I see a support formation, and I'm going to create one right at the resistance, and I'm going to wait for price to break out of this. I come down to the 1-hour time frame, and still a bearish structure here just based off the 1-hour time frame, and the more that you zoom out, the more that you see that. And so here we got an hourly candle closure, but right above that is another resistance. So that's why I mapped that out instead of the current one here. And then if price continues pushing back down bearish, then we know that we're coming back down for sells at the bare minimum right down here. So you still have, pretty good movement to catch. And then buys are going to be above 4,800. Any questions so far? All good?
Yeah, all good. All good.
Perfect. Alright, NASDAQ is starting to drop. We have 30 seconds until a 5-minute candle closure. This is also going to be the first 5-minute candle closure below the zone. So let's just wait for that. I know it seems like a huge move. But just like yesterday, we don't want to be in a situation where price just creates a bottom wick. This move right here that we saw, where price creates a bottom wick and then flips back up. And then we ended up catching the move to the upside yesterday. So just be a little bit more patient here. All right, here's your new 5. You can catch the same exact thing from yesterday, where it breaks the low and you catch it coming into the support. And if you're on a funded account, you're just looking for a super small move anyways. Wait for it, let it break its own low. And that's almost there. See how it's pulling back a little bit? Give it a second. You're also 5 minutes out from a 30-minute candle closure, so do take that into consideration. So this is what your 30-minute candle looks like here. So still a lot of conviction behind the sells. You're just waiting for price to continue breaking its own low. So 3 minutes left. So basically what I'm looking for is on the 30-minute, we're getting a really nice push. This is still the support area that I would be targeting, same like yesterday. But this 30-minute candle, it needs to give the next candle enough room to create a top wick and continue pushing down. Once we get that top wick on the next 30, we have the exact placement of where to place our stop loss, and then a continuation down. So while we wait for that in 2 minutes, let's take a look at what is happening here. Let's close this here real quick. Alright, we got a lot of retail activity that's starting to jump into ASML. Let's bring that back. Let's see. And then I want to give me analysis on Morgan Stanley. Let's pull back. So see how it's starting to pull back? So that's what we're waiting for, to see in 15 seconds you're going to get a new 30-minute candle formation to create a top wick and then flip back down. So we have already tapped into pretty much the same exact levels as yesterday's candles. So that's what we're waiting for. That's why it's so important to wait for the candle to also break its low, its own low, not just the previous candle's low. And then once it gives us a confirmation of a support, then you catch the same exact moves back to the upside. Alright, Morgan Stanley also had a massive beat across the board and announced a $20 billion share buyback program. And they're expanding their Ethereum or their crypto product suite, basically. Ethereum and Solana ETFs. Okay, so today we're going to get another reprint of the, or reprice of the price targets for Morgan Stanley. Right now it seems like it's pushing past all the several targets that we've had. So this is a really, really good push. I also want to take a look at Texas Instruments. It's consolidating. Let's take a look at AMAT. And then, what else do we have? MU. So I'm starting to see retail activity drop down, so that's the main thing that I want to see all across the board. So start to get some activity here, but the short volume also dropping. Perfectly in line with all the earnings. Let's come back to NASDAQ. We're still 2 minutes into the new 30-minute candle. It created a little bit of a top wick. So we're still in the range for either move. So trading seems to be the biggest profitable business for all the banks this earnings season. Morgan Stanley took in $6.3 billion from equity trading. $148.1 billion in new assets in its closely watched wealth management business. Let's check out what Excel left. Really good push. Alright, and then we also have escalations with the war. Fifth straight day of US attacks. And he has pledged to bomb again on Wednesday night and continue until Iran relents. So oil, for the most part, the reason why we're not seeing massive movements there or a massive push up is because it's already priced in these attacks. It's right now consolidating even on the 4-hour time frame. Let's check here. we're still holding onto a support down here. We had our first 5-minute candle closure of the new 30-minute candle. Here's the next one, creating a top wick, starting to push back down. We're basically looking for a price to break this low here, and then you're just catching a quick small move coming back down into the support. A movement like this, or you would just be a little bit more patient of price just tapping into this area and then pulling right back up like it did yesterday. But the cleaner move is just catching this, and then like we just saw from the data perspective, and this is coming from real data. It's not just AI coming up with its own predictions, but this is data that's coming from NYC, NASDAQ, all that stuff. So it's legitimate. And so we saw that equities today are being moved by institutions entirely. So that's why we're waiting for and being careful for any massive wick rejections, but you're still able to take advantage of them as long as you understand what's happening behind them, which is that we're coming back into another consolidation area, and yesterday we tapped right into that to pull right back up into this 29,900 area. So this is your move that's happening right now. Let's drop to 15 and 5. Here we go. This is the target right into the support. And what I'm going to do is just create a line here as we're dropping down to lower time frames, just to see visually how this consolidation is being shared across time frames. Right, so on the 4-hour time frame, it was just those wick rejections that we saw, with almost 3 4-hour candles creating a bottom wick. 1 hour showing me consolidation right into this area. 30-minute, same thing, and the 15. So we got a nice 15-minute candle closure below the zone. The next one created a top wick. It's starting to push back down. That is your cleanest target point. What I'm looking for is we've got a nice seller's pressure even off of the hourly time frames. Are we just going to get a rejection off of this and then pull back? That is a much clearer buy opportunity. But if price breaks below that, then you still have about 188 points to the downside. Here's your new 5-minute. So you got a candle closure right into the consolidation. You're just waiting for this candle create a top wick and continue to push back down. All good so far? Any questions?
good. Thanks.
Perfect. I'm also waiting on US 30. That would be my preferred trade, given that price is giving us nice wick rejections. So if you can get that pullback, then you have a couple of 100 points to the downside, and you have a couple of 100 points to the upside. Let's check up on SpaceX while we're here too. Futures market for NASDAQ, Dow Jones, and Russell, and S&P 500. So while it does that, I'm going to take a look at SpaceX sitting at even lower level than it started with. We got another hit on US 30. There's your NASDAQ, your alert or your target hit. Okay, perfect. US 30 is what I want. So if I can get candle closures here and the drop down, I am in. So now what we do is bring that alert right above that consolidation. Price target is already hit, or your take profit down here. If it continues to drop, let's say on your live account, on your funded account, I think this move should be enough, right? But let's say if you're on a live account, or maybe you didn't take this trade, you wait for the break of its own bottom wick right here and a continuation down. Now you have a clean move to the downside. It's the cleanest zone to zone trade that you're going to catch right here. And then let's say if price does the same exact thing that I did yesterday, where it created a bottom wick right into consolidation and then flips back up, then you wait for price to close above this consolidation, like we got that 15 close yesterday, and then a continuation back up. You've got your bias to the upside there. US 30 is what I want, so that's what I'm waiting for. I have about 30 seconds left here for this 15-minute candle closure. So tech is a drag right now for NASDAQ. We're obviously seeing the bearish pressure there. So the market is hedging here for further downside. Let's pull up QQQ. And so 710, 715 area. So we'll come back here. That is right here on the 4-hour time frame, the support. So then we come back to our charts, go back over to the 4-hour time frame. So that's, yeah, that 29,000, almost 200 area where we have our support formation. That is where we have put volume, so market hedging for further downside. Got our alert hit on US 30. Let's come back. Perfect. So that is what I want. that was 685 that I got. $740 is what I'm going to target here for my stop loss. My first TP is going to be down here for this wick fill. And for NASDAQ, we're getting a bounce off of here. It is the new 15. Let's go back. So it seems like the options market is more nervous about NASDAQ right now. So you're going to get, from a technical perspective, that's going to look like a lot more consolidation, a lot more massive wick rejections, and things like that. Russell, which is the small caps, that is heavily hedged at the moment. Institutional put wall is striking. So overall, it's a scalper or day traders market today. SpaceX is currently trading at a price a lot lower than its IPO open. So 135 is what majority of the banks were already targeting. That's going to correct back down to. So down here, you're going to start seeing a lot more buying. That's going to happen. Let's come back. We're getting a bounce here. Come down to 5. We've got about 20 seconds left here on this 5. This is going to be a second 5-minute candle closure. So the reason why I'm keeping my stop loss here, or you can do like 750 area, is because this current candle has no top wick. So there's no range for us where, you know, prices already trying to kick out the buyers. So that's why I'm expecting wick rejections. It's just going to be 1% trades, 1% risk trades I'm going to be taking until I get further confirmation for continuation. So that's the same exact setup here for NASDAQ, where you have that 1% risk, and then you add another as price continues to push back down. So I'm still quite bearish on US 30, but like we just saw, even from data perspective, that this is the one that's more flat out of all the indices. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get another wick rejection for a continuation down. Alright, so we're gonna see early backers exiting out of SpaceX in about August, so in about a month. Seems like the ultimate buy targets here are still pretty good for where price is trading at the moment. We have a couple of funds that are targeting closer to the IPO or below IPO. Cool. Alright, we gotta flip back up here. So what I'm gonna do is just create an alert. I'm gonna wait for the candle to flip here. So this is my first exit. I have one more attempt left for the market, but that's going to be either between US 30 if it does flip back down. But I'm going to wait for the new hourly now that we're only about like 7 minutes away. Or US or NASDAQ if it flips after creating a bottom wick here, and then we catch the same exact move. There's nothing on gold, nothing on silver here just yet either from yesterday's analysis. Alright, we've got our top wick here. I'm gonna come back to the hourly, and I'm gonna adjust this to just slightly below down here with the new hourly candle. I want to see how this one closes, so the entry won't be on this candle. If this candle does flip back down, I want to see the next hourly give me a top wick and then continue pushing. So that's how I'm going to take my second attempt. But if I don't end up getting that, let's say price ends up consolidating, then I don't have a second attempt today. And then for NASDAQ, I want to see candle closures outside of this consolidation and then a continuation. Any questions? All good?
No questions.
Cool. So we have our alert set. It was supposed to be like a half-an-hour session today, but ended up going a little bit longer. But we have our alerts set. Once the alerts hit, if I do end up seeing another opportunity, I will let you guys know in Discord. But that's pretty much it. But all across the board, seems like we are rejecting off of resistance levels and starting to pull back down. Alright, I'll see you guys.